All right, welcome this morning. I guess the volume's turned up on his headset there. Blew your ears on that one, huh? As you can see, the cameras are in and they're kind of putting them on ladders temporarily. This is not a permanent fixture. It's not permanent, no. If it was permanent, we'd have to color them different. Blue. Or, yeah. They're just testing out location to see what would be best. Well, again, welcome. We would like to have your participation in the first part, or at least a couple people, when it comes to the prayer, the reading your thought, and the Pledge of Allegiance. We're looking for volunteers who would be willing to do either one. Any volunteers? Seeing one. Paul, which one? Prayer, reading your thought? Okay, that's usually the hardest one. And we got the pledge. All right, thank
you. Our Father in heaven, we're thankful for this wonderful day. We thank Thee for this beautiful spring weather we've been able to enjoy. We're thankful for this beautiful community that we are able to live in and the wonderful people that we get to associate with. We pray Thy blessings be upon us this day as we make important decisions impacting those who live here. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for
you. All right, thank you, and thank you for participating with us. We have, well, let me make sure and explain that our process again is that for participation, we'll go through our consent agenda. If you'd like to participate or like to say anything on the items that are moved to consent, please come up to the microphone. If not, we'll just move into our regular agenda. And then during our regular agenda items, if there is, this is sounding really loud, is it loud? If there's any comments during on the individual agenda item, please come up and state your name and where you're from. That'd be great to have. And then there's public comment at the end. So with that, we have 14 items on consent. The only one that I'd like to pull off, just for my own informational purposes, number 1. Are there any others?
I did on number 2.
Number 2?
We have.
Just so you can talk about it. Perfect. Okay. I was going to say they rushed to get that in there, so.
Okay, so I have number 1, number 2, and number 7. And then moving to our regular agenda, everything will be on consent except for what we pull off. And I have, so if we can pull number 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Any others that you have? Okay. I'm just wondering, I'll test and see if this can be done. On number 6, could we pull that off and table it? Would it be all right to table that one until after our closed meetings? That'd be all right?
Works for me.
Okay. So consent to table that until after our meetings. So Emily, does that work for you? Did you get everything? I guess I should put my phone on silent too. All right, so with that, number 1. who's the staff member on this one? Public Safety, Don, is that you? This is about the grants.
This one,
No one to speak to this one.
this is from drug and alcohol.
It's just a simple question, so I'm,
This is from, if I remember correctly, these were items that were purchased through a Homeland Security grant. Is that what this was? So it was bought through that grant in order to, and then they just turn this equipment over to these different organizations. Before we can do that, it has to be declared as surplus.
Okay.
So that it can then be turned over to them.
all right, that was part of my, I was wondering if it was new equipment, or if this was, because we're surplusing it,
No,
so
it's new equipment.
it's new
but
equipment that we purchased through a grant that they were participating in, they were trying to get as well.
It's just, it's just a procedural thing. I mean, they're buying, the purpose of the grant is to purchase these things for those other organizations through the county. But just as a matter of procedure, we have to declare them, we buy them, and then we declare them a surplus so that we can turn them over to those other organizations.
Okay,
It's just a procedural thing.
Meaning search and rescue or...
Right.
there's a ton of them in there. It seems like every city's got something.
Yeah.
All right. A motion would be in order. This is other questions.
I move that we declare the items contained in consent agenda 1 as surplus, and let me start over. I move that we approve item 1 on consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Yeah, I got a motion and a second to approve number 1 on the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. All right, number 2.
Number 2.
Well, we keep working through this, trying to get things settled. There's one last issue. I was just talking with Mr. Moore about that. There is right after this plat went to Planning Commission, one of the applicants passed away, and he was a personal representative for someone else who had passed away. There's been a lot of twists and turns in this application, and so we feel like this application this item should be continued for maybe indefinitely until the matter of who will be the personal representative for one of the owners who's passed away, until that issue's settled. Which in talking with the attorney who's been kind of quarterbacking this application, he feels like that should be done in the next couple of weeks, but
So continue with that date or just strike it?
Strike it.
just strike it. I'll put it back on in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
I would move that we strike consent agenda item number 2.
Second.
And a motion and a second to strike consent agenda item number 2. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That passes 3-0. Right, Carl. Oh, yeah, make sure and state your name.
Is this number 7?
Number 7.
We're on? All right.
We are you?
As you may be aware, annually Utah County hosts a household hazardous waste collection day, at which
Did we get your name?
Oh, my name is Carl Holland, Deputy County Attorney for Utah County. Annually, the Utah County Health Department hosts a household hazardous waste collection day, where we invite members of the public to bring hazardous waste generated in household quantities, everything from paint, antifreeze, batteries, oil, to pills that are left over, and to dispose of those properly. This is a contract to use the parking lot for the Provo Town Center for that. However, if you'd notice in Exhibit A of the terms, number 6, sub L, it states that we as the lessee of the property cannot bring hazardous, flammable, or other types of waste to the site. I sent an email to
It's the
Provo.
purpose.
Yes, it does defeat the purpose. I sent an email to Provo and Provo Town Center, and they are willing to either remove that or to create an addendum which would circumvent that term. So I would just suggest that as a commission you approve it subject to the removal of that term. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to hold the Household Hazardous Waste Day as anticipated and comply with the terms of the contract.
And this is April 8th?
April 8th, yes.
Just that one day? So we have
Just
time?
one day, yes.
Okay. Seems to be reasonable.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's all, unless you have any questions for me.
This contract is pretty much the same as what we had in the past, or?
Yes, it's
why
the same
did we
as
have-
what we've...
We didn't have it last year? Did we have it last year and violate it, or are we?
It's a new mall ownership group.
It's a new mall ownership group, so their standard terms have changed.
I see, okay. Okay. All right, a motion would be in order.
Okay, I move that we approve and authorize item number 7 with the change to the contract removing 6L, the hazardous waste component of the contract.
Second?
All right, I've got a motion and a second to approve number 7 as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. All right. So for the minutes on this, we're on number 2 now of regular agenda. Get to the spot, Emily, so you can make sure to make a note of it. It is at the end,
Page 2.
under audio. Yes, it's on page, well, I'm on page 3. 3 of 4. It says audio 5930. And towards the end there, well, I'll just read it. It says, Commissioner Gray stated he will recuse himself from this process, and Commissioner Lee echoed that statement. Can you change on the part of mine that says, to say Commissioner Lee felt inclined to do the same? And then, just for the record, the decision on this is actually done in writing, and that was done later. This was just discussionary purpose. Just want to make sure and clarify that, but
It was the second one,
yeah. it's
December
the
13th.
Number
Page
2. Number 2.
That's okay.
I can show you later if needed on where that's at. So if you're fine with that.
Yep.
Okay. Motion to be in order.
Move that we approve the minutes as stated, as amended in regular agenda item 2.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That passes 3-0. So give us your name, then we can start from there.
Great. Paul Jones, County Attorney's Office.
I had a couple questions on this. The first one is the D Broadhead one. There's a $27.93 penalty. I believe it's the penalty.
Yes. On that one, just to remind you, Mr. Broadhead claims that he mailed a check in earlier. We never got the check, so his taxes were not paid on time. Of course, we don't know exactly what happened to the check, if he even mailed it or not. We don't know. We had a similar one like this a few months ago, and I believe we denied that one. But
I noticed on this one that they showed a copy of the check with the date of October on it.
Yep.
That could have fully been in compliance if it would have been mailed at that time.
if the check was
If the
written in
check-
October, and if
yeah.
you did mail it, and
Wait, there's a copy.
But-
It's still not loading up for me. There's a copy of the check.
There's a copy of the check, but he's claiming that the check was never cashed, and so he sent another one after he got
How did he get
notice.
a copy of the check?
Well, his check. Oh, you mean like, I assume it probably come from
I think it was his carbon copy, maybe?
carbon copy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, minus.
Yeah, it's,
Well, I got it here if you want to look at it.
I looked at it earlier. I didn't
My only,
remember seeing that part.
there's a couple of these that, here's the copy, let's get to it right there. There's the copy right there.
Carbon. Yeah. Okay.
Carbon copy. I don't know about the last one. mean,
Yeah, I
the
was going to
mail
ask
is-
you if you would mind striking the last item. We don't have the backup yet. We thought we were going to have it on time. The Gearhead oil, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, with Steve Young as the attorney.
Steve Young, that's right. I think it's a different Steve Young.
Yeah.
It is a different Steve Young.
Yeah.
I was going to tell him I read your your autobiography. Pretty good work.
So on this one with the broadheads, though,
We're just looking at waiving the penalties.
I'm just looking at, I mean, I know we're in the business of collecting the tax. I just feel for some of these that are coming in with, there's some, and there's others that are on the list here that come up. I just don't know where we want to be on consistency. That's
Yeah.
Well, and there's
That's the
another one
problem.
coming to us, that the gentleman, and to me, this kind of fits the same thing. He came in, or he went online, saw his total tax bill, didn't realize that the total tax bill online does not show interest and/or penalty a couple days later, and so he got a certified check, came in and paid it, but there's an outstanding balance, obviously, for a few dollars like this, so.
Yeah.
So we have some potential fixes on our system, because that one's a problem.
That one seems, well, I wouldn't call it error, but I'd call it.
Well, if we're not,
something.
if we're not listing the full tax due, that's why, to me, it's kind of the same. I'm okay if you want to, you're saying we just want to abate,
Yeah,
which was the recommendation
Tell
of
us.
everybody other than the attorney's office, right?
I don't know about that.
they're following the law. We appreciate that.
Mr. McConnell says, no county error, taxpayers at the mercy of the post office for timely delivery. Then he does say, best interest possibly?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to help you get there.
So we have that one, and maybe if I can just lump them together. The next one, too, is Michelle Haley. It's for $14, and I think it has a similar thing.
Yeah, in that situation, she claims that she had her bill pay set up through her financial institution, and that
Right.
she had it set up to where it would be paid on time, but the funds weren't received on time.
Right. And if I remember correctly in her statement, she deals with lots of properties, and all the others somehow went through except for a couple. It was one day. It was sent one day late.
I believe that's right. The assessor and treasurer both recommended denial, so did the attorney's office.
Yeah. I know.
But
it's-
certainly the decision here is with the Board of Commissioners. And
You're only looking at the 1464, right?
Yeah.
The interest for, see, and that's the hard one, is because if it's postmarked, we process them 4 days later, and the funds leave their bank, and there's no error. Right. I know.
so I guess
Okay,
both.
if you want to do that,
Yeah.
either way.
I tend to believe them. I tend to believe them that they, on these, I mean, just seeing the documentation on it, what they're saying, I tend to believe what they're saying is they're trying to get it in and there was a hiccup there.
Yeah.
I just don't know about
And
the
I believe
consistency
them too.
part.
Just-
There may be
Sure.
times when I look at it and it doesn't seem like it's consistent. I don't know how we draw, maybe we don't draw a complete hard line with it, but I don't know. I struggle with it.
Yeah, you're in the hot seat. We make a recommendation, try to be consistent, but certainly I think there's other space here for you as commissioners to say, we're going to find the best interest here, best human interest, and we're going to abate some penalty or interest.
Especially because we only get 8% of the $14. Who really cares, right? School district might be mad because they get $12 of it.
Then there's there's another one on there on a payment basis, right? Approve the payment
So if that's,
agreement.
I'd ask you to strike that because we don't have the backup yet.
So strike the last two.
Just the last one.
Oh, last one. Sorry.
Gearhead.
Okay. Well, what would be your pleasure? Go ahead and make a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the property tax actions contained in letter 2017-2 with the following changes. Parcel 51:213:0008, that we waive, is it interest or penalty on that one?
I think it's penalty.
Waive $27.93. How about that? And then on parcel 48:273:0003, that we waive the interest of, and I've lost the amount already, 1464?
Sounds right.
64, and that we also strike parcel 72476.
Second?
I got a motion and a second on approving the property tax actions as contained with stipulations. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That passes 3-0. Okay. Number 5.
Paul Jones, Utah County Attorney's Office.
I know this one has
3 items.
has the one where they turned in. I mean, we have to have findings on this one for the late applications, so that'll have to be in the motion. But there's the one that came in after the 31st, was statutorily we can't receive. So
That's right.
Any other discussion with that? We have to have findings on that. I think there's 2. The first 2.
Yeah, the other 2 that we approve with the finding of good cause. Okay. Well, then I will make a motion that we approve the property tax actions contained in the recommendation letter on regular agenda item 5 with the findings for the first and the third listed for good cause.
Second?
I've got a motion and a second to approve the property tax actions as contained in number 5 with findings. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That passes 3-0. All right, number 7.
Ralph Clegg of the Health Department, also Jason Garrett of the Health Department will cover this. I believe I was up at the legislature all day Friday. Wonderful place to be, wonderful place to leave. Scott and I got to talk quite a bit while we were up there. Anyway, so I didn't see all this as it broke loose on Friday and things, so Jason will kind of cover that. But I think the intent is they had a strong enough register this last time that they thought it was good enough to hire an additional person if this position could be freed up from the restricted account. I asked them to gather some metrics. I haven't seen those metrics, but I think Jason may talk through those with you.
Jason Garrett, Environmental Health. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have concerning this restricted position.
With the conversation that I had with Bryce on Friday, he was going to come back, and he's not here today.
It's not available today.
I mean, he did send us.
Substitute.
He sent us some. I mean, this is kind of a crossover, and we recognize that because we have the money we put in last year, and we put it in there for one environmental health inspector, and then to see how that impacted your workload, and then to be determined if we go for a second.
Correct.
And now this is coming at both of them at the same time, right out of the chute. And so I just asked if he would come prepared to talk about what the workload is, what it was. He gave us a chart on the increases of inspections that are going on, and we saw that, and I think that might even be in here. But I asked him, well, what's the workload of one environmental inspector? Is that 400 cases or 400 permits a year? How do we document that? And it goes to a bigger discussion that we're involved in when it comes to staffing plan increases. You know, how we're going to walk down through that, have HR a part of it as well. And again, you're caught right in the middle of it, understanding that
Right
you
where
had
we
a
like to be in environmental.
yeah.
I can speak somewhat to that, if you would like. What we have currently existing is we have, with what's been approved in our staffing plan, we have 11 full-time inspectors, environmental health scientists, and 10 of which are doing food. So we really are trying to play catch-up, and we can get any of those numbers for you that you would like. Currently, with what we have, if this position gets approved, we can get the number of food establishments, for example, if we just focus on a couple of the areas, we can get that down to 165 establishments per inspector. Right now, as our staffing plan sits, it's 180. The FDA recommendation is 125 for how many food establishments. That, coupled with what's gone on in wastewater, the growth, and we've showed you those numbers. Last year we had 175 applications and systems to go in the county. That's up about 100 from what we were just a couple of years before that. So as we try to meet that need, we look projecting going forward. Since January 1st of this year, we already have 28 new food establishments. By the end of this year, as that projection goes, that will be more than a full food area that is implemented, and we don't see any signs of that stopping. So I think, as Bryce explained to you, that coupled with some other hiring circumstances with a strong register and competing was the reason why we thought it would be expedient to move forward right now. As you need more information, we certainly would give that to you. The other thing that it's hard to account for is things like the Utah Lake algal bloom and E. coli and different things that seem to be popping up every year that sinks a large amount of time of inspectors to takes them away from their normal roles.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the reason why we put that in there, you know, that restricted fund, knowing that there was, I mean, we voted for that, said yes, you know, we recognized the need. I was just hoping that we'd go through the process, because I think in 2014 you hired 2 new ones to accommodate, and when I look at the numbers that you had in the way of inspectors at that point in time, that you were handling it, and now you're looking forward and saying, I need 2 more. And now we're at 2017, and we're trying to say, I just don't know.
Certainly.
And that's the reason why we're asking.
I think when we talk about, it's not just the number of inspections, and I'll speak to food, even though that's not my area of expertise. Coupled with the increased numbers is the requirements from the FDA with the type of inspection that goes on. So there's a standardized inspection procedure that we're trying to adopt, which in most cases doubles or even more the time of an inspection. So those are the 2 factors in play as far as the increased number, and that
So
goes
why
along.
why would we adopt their inspection standards if it doubles our time if what we've been doing is working? Sounds like we're a little more efficient.
Ralph, I think you were more part of that one at the time when they were, that was implemented. That would have been back with Terry still.
Do we just not have an option? The FDA says
No,
you will
it's
do
not
it this
an
way?
optional.
Okay.
Usually, the state health department usually adopts the FDA code as what the state rule is, and we're required to enforce the state.
Okay.
Now, if you want us to come up with more information, you can certainly
Absolutely.
put this off for a couple of weeks. We can do that.
Well,
The hiring register, they can still hire from up to a month later, I think, so.
My concern, though, is that they have a strong pool. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not
and
saying
you'd
that
lose them.
I'm against it, the process was off from what I thought we had agreed to, and so
and again, I think to Commissioner Lee's point, we're just trying to understand the workload because the numbers, when you add 2 a couple years ago and now we're adding 2 more, we're not saying that everybody's not busy and that we're not doing more than the standard. We just are trying to understand so that we know where to look for the next time when you come back and we can kind of beat you to it and say, yeah, oh yeah, you're here for your next one, right?
And the 2 that were added a few years ago were added because of the increase in the fee collections for our restaurants. These 2 were asked for from general fund money, as you know, and just to cover some of the things that the general fund has to cover for our inspectors.
Just to make sure I understood the first point correctly, so if we add this particular one that you're asking for today, we'll still have our inspectors performing 40 more food inspections than is currently recommended by the FDA. Okay.
And you're comfortable with that number, right? For the time being. I mean,
We'll take what we can get
Okay.
and do the best we can with it.
and I guess that's our concern is we in essence don't want to approve it and then say 6 months later say, oh, we're just so swamped. Well, we decreased your workload. How you know what I mean?
Right.
We'd rather the ask come so that we get to a good standard.
Yeah, there's no intention to do that, but
Okay.
yes.
And it sounds like part of the expediency here is specifically related to the pool of candidates we have currently applied.
Correct.
And I was curious on that, this is for your own information, so I kind of did a little bit of my own research. And one of the things that I found in this particular career field, that the job outlook was excellent. But the reason the job outlook was excellent for this particular career was, according to careershealth.com, there is a significant national shortage in environmental health professionals. And so that was why they were saying, here's a great field to go into to get employment. So from my perspective on that, if we've got a good pool of people actively going after it, it would be in our best interest to act, quickly and grab those people as opposed to wait till we have that shortage, which is obviously being reflected
nursing.
nationally.
That's part of the reason, part of what was driving the request so soon. Typically on the register, we don't get anyone who's already licensed as an environmental health scientist. This time we had 2 that were already licensed. When they're not licensed, we have to spend a lot of time with them before they can actually get out in the field. Like I say, often we'll only get maybe 1 candidate that we can even live with on the register. This time we had a really good group of candidates.
So will you, if this goes through, it kind of feels like it is, will you get us that information in the way of breakdown on workload and everything?
Yes.
It would be nice in the future, I think we're working towards that, to where HR is the one that actually comes forward and does a recommendation, either positive or not, based on workload and historical information, and does some of this, so we have that. But if you could do that for this, as we're kind of in the
Certainly.
in-between.
In fact, I wasn't. I was at a conference on Friday, so that was a conversation that Bryce had. What we will do is we will contact you and see exactly what information.
Well,
you
I'd
would
like you
in
to
addition
take
to
this
that.
chart you have and basically apply like what one inspector does on it, because for example, when you say public pools permitted 425 or whatever, right? What does that workload entail?
Break it down.
Yeah, just not in great depth, but hey,
You already have all that.
of our 11 inspectors, we split these up, and this is a busy time because we permit or inspect these pools in March or whatever, right? So,
We may make Bryce do that since he's not here.
For the record,
you want
is
it
that
to
what
be
you're saying?
part of my, you want it to be part of my motion so that he has to.
Yeah, exactly.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Motion be in order.
I'll move that we approve the following changes to the environmental health staffing plan as outlined in regular agenda item number 7.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the following staffing plan changes, and as stated, number 7. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. All right, that's all that I had on this list. Do we need number 9?
Yeah.
9, 10, 10, 11, 12. Yes. Okay. Huh? Yes.
11 and 12. All right, I will move that we approve and set a date, time, and location for a closed meeting for a strategy session to discuss the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property, water rights, or water shares for today's date at this location following the completion of the regular agenda.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to approve and set a date, time, and location for a strategy session to discuss the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property. Getting really long. I've stated number 9. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0.
I will move that we strike regular agenda item number 10.
Second.
A motion and a second to strike agenda item number 10. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0.
I will move that we approve and set a date, time, and location for a closed meeting to discuss the character, professional competency, or physical or mental health of an individual or individuals following today, or for today's date at this location, following the completion of our regular agenda.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to approve and set a date, time, and location as stated number 11. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0.
Move that we approve and set a date, time, and location for a closed meeting for a strategy session to discuss pending or reasonably imminent litigation for today's date at this location, following the completion of the regular agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve and set a date, time, and location as stated number 12. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. All right, I don't see any work session items. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we will move into our closed meetings. Thank you.